Hi, comic book peeps. I'm Joe, and this is Anachronic Comics. Anachronic. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about local comic book shops and my experiences with them. As many of you probably know from watching my videos and dealing with me on Instagram, I retired a few years ago. Now, when I got back into comics, which was in probably the early 2000s, I worked in Midtown Manhattan. And in Midtown Manhattan, there were a number of comic book shops. And even if you went a little bit downtown, there was a few more, like Forbidden Planet, for example. But in my area, there were two Midtown Comics shops. And as you know, Midtown Comics is a pretty big comic book store, two of them down there. They had another one downtown. And as a practical matter, they were actually distributing some of the DC comics when they dropped Diamond a few months ago. So having those two comics in my area was very easy. Every Wednesday, I went to one or the other, picked up the comics I wanted, and never had a really problem. The only problem I had one time was that sometimes there's some special comic or somebody signing, and sometimes a little bit difficult to get in there, because I was working, so I had a little bit amount of time. I really couldn't go and stand online like everybody else did. But that was very rare. So when I retired a few years ago, I was very interested in going to a local comic shop, like many others have, and how I've seen online people getting relationships, having nice discussions, and so forth. So I remember that when I was working, I did reach out to some of the comic shops. There were some down in White Plains, which is about 20-30 miles down away from me. But I remember that there was one in my neighborhood, only 4 miles away. So I went, met the guy, great guy, we had great conversations. I would go in every couple of weeks and get the comics that were on my pull list. One thing that I did notice was that he was a one-man operation. He sometimes had somebody there helping him, but not so much. And he sold the statues as well, and sports cards and other type of things. But comics, he had comics, and that was kind of his bread and butter, as far as I could say. So in my discussions with him, we talked about comics a lot, and again, it was kind of fun. He had a personal issue that came up in his family, which caused him to close the shop for about a week and a half. And as a result, some things on my pull list didn't come to me. He kept on promising to get them for me. He'd get one or the other. He said, don't worry, I could get them. But 1 month turned into 2 months. And especially with the collections that I was going on, I collect basically 2 comics every month, which is Justice League and Amazing SpiderMan. I had now a gap. Plus, the other thing that I usually collect are limited series. And I was missing some of the limited series that I was looking for. And those are harder to find when you're going back, and online and so forth. And some of them, because they're limited series, the price getting them months after the fact could be a lot more than what you would get as a retail price. So, yeah, I felt bad, but after a few months of him not being able to deliver, I decided that I would not be able to use him anymore. So I took a look around to see if there were other comic shops in the area, and there weren't. Now, there was one down in White Plains that was a pretty big one. So I took a ride down there, a bit of a ride. It's about a 30-minute ride, I think, to the shop itself, and it was gone. So I went back to Midtown Comics. And what I did, going back now a few years and up until today, is go online every month when the previews comes out, and basically go through previews. And now I go through previews, and I go through the Midtown Comics website, which is a really great website, and pick the comics that I want. So essentially, when you pick a comic on the previews or on their site, let's say for month number 1, you're in this particular month, it's really for a couple of months down the line. So one of the problems with that is you don't always get to see some of the variants that might come out that you might want to get. So that's something where I generally try to get down to Manhattan maybe once a month or so, So I'll stop by their shop and I'll see whether or not there's some other variant or something else that I might want to pick up. I've been thinking about maybe going back to that shop that's only 4 miles away from my house, and I might do that and see what the story is, and maybe I can pick up with him again. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I just got a box from Midtown Comics, so I thought we'd take a look and see what's in it. Now, one thing Midtown does do really well is pack their boxes. You see fragile on that. Nothing's really moving in there. They do a really good job of packing. So let's see what we've got here on this one. This box looks a little bit bigger than normal, but let's see what we got here. Actually, they do have a couple of things here, so let's see. All right. And you see they do use a lot of bubble wrap, as well as I mentioned, their box is really sturdy. Really a sturdy box. Good for reusing for other things too. So let me put these down on the ground so I can see what's here. We got 2 different things. This is the first one. Oh, this looks like, let's see. Besides me saying what it looks like, let's just pull it out and see what's there. Okay. Well, we have a Dark Knight's Metal number 5, which is part of this group that's in there. But we do have a couple of Black Label, 3 Black Label comics. That's why they were put in separately. Now, one thing that DC does with most of the, I'm sorry, not DC, but one thing that Midtown Comics does with some of them is to protect them, they put the comics in backwards. So when you want to have an unboxing and show people what's in there, that's a little bit of a problem. So we're going to have to pull them out and turn them around maybe. Oh, so here's one that I was really looking forward to. The Other History of DC Comics. So the History of DC Comics came out a number of years ago that spoke about the characters and basically gave their history. The Other History of DC Comics is kind of looks at the kind of the diversity end, which, as you guys that follow comics know, that's a issue or an area that DC is really focusing in now, and Marvel is as well. So looking forward to reading that. This other one, oh, this is great. Joker Harley. Joker Harley Criminal Sanity. This, I've been reading this. It's very, very good, and I really recommend that if you're looking for something that's a little bit offbeat and something a little bit different, that you look at this one. Very good comic. And the other Black Label is, now let's see, another copy. One of these is a variant. I'm not sure which one is the variant. So these are both Harley Criminal Sanity number 6. I believe it's supposed to be a 12-parter, but don't hold me to that. I don't remember exactly. Okay, let's see what's in the other. Well, the other one are all normal comics. It's a big lot of them, so again, more than normal. I'd say normally I might get around, I don't know, 10, maybe 10 to 15 comics. Sometimes fewer than that. This looks like it's a lot more. Okay, hopefully not all turned around backwards as well. So let's see what we got here. All right. Now, you know, one of them that I go for is Justice League. So here's, and these might not be in order. It's for what I pull out. So here's Justice League number 57. Let's try to do it so you can see it. Death Metal number 5. Very good series. And here's a variant, Justice League 57. This is the variant that I picked up. Here's Amazing Spider-Man number 53. Last Remains. I'm a little bit behind on reading Spidey. Amazing Spider-Man 53 again. This is a one-shot, part of the Death Metal, Multiverse Who Laughs. The Multiverse Who Laughs. There's a number of one-shots that go along with the death metal series, and I've been trying to pick them up. Amazing Spider-Man 53 LR. Let's see if you can see that one a little bit better here. Okay, so we have some from the Dark Multiverse, some one-shots again. A version of Flashpoint from the Dark Multiverse. And from Dark Multiverse as well, Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Wonder Woman War of the Gods. Death Metal, The Last Stories of the DC Universe. Now here I picked up 3 issues of Batman Catwoman #1. I don't know that I'm going to invest the time to read through this, but I really like the covers that have Batman and Catwoman on them. I'm not sure why, but they're usually pretty cool. This one just has Batman and Catwoman, you know, kind of flying through the air in Gotham City. This one has Catwoman hanging on to Batman, it looks like, anyway, flying through the air in Gotham City. And probably my favorite of these, and I'm not sure who drew this one, I have to take a look, but kind of a close-up of Batman and Catwoman. Catwoman's looking right into the camera, Batman's looking off in the distance. Now, I don't know if you've read kind of some of the series. There's a number of Batman black and white books. I think these covers are just terrific. I'm not sure if this one of them is two of them are variants. So here's one. One of them is by J.R. Michael. I think this might be the variant here. I'm not sure, but it might be. I don't see it listed on here that way. Yeah, that was the variant. Here's the regular A cover. And the Peach Momoko, is that her name? But anyway, here's her cover with it too, which is kind of a cool cover. So I've been picking up the J.J. Abrams Spider-Man. Haven't read any of them yet. I'm kind of wait for the 6 of them to come out, though I understood that number 6 has been delayed even again. So it's been taking a long time to get these out. But I picked up number 5. Now, a black label that they have, a regular size black label, is Strange Adventures with Adam Strange, which is, again, one of these kind of B characters that I kind of liked when I was a kid. And like, again, now I've been just holding on to these too. I don't know if you guys do this, but what I find is when you get comics once a month like I do, it gets a little bit hard to kind of remember, you know, some of the stuff that goes on. You can get a number of them. So I generally hold on to the comics when you have a limited series. If it's 4, 5, or 6, sometimes I wait for all of them to come in. If it's more, this is going to be 12. I sometimes wait until you get about 6 or so, and then maybe read them all at one time. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just wait until I get all 12. So sometimes I wait a year before I read them. I just am not a big trade paperback guy. I have some for some comics that were older, you know, that were coming out when I wasn't collecting. But if it's something where I'm collecting and it looks interesting to me, I will generally pick up each individual comic and then just wait until I have them all, and then just sit down and read through them maybe in 1 or 2 sittings. Okay, now we got a few Spideys here. 53 LR. Got 54. 3 copies, the A and 2 variables is another one, another 54. And yet another 54. And the last 2 in the bunch, and again, this was a bigger bunch than normal. We have Deceased Dead Planet number 6, which I think was the last one for this. I think it was a 6-issue series. Pretty interesting. If you read the first Deceased, it was pretty interesting as to what was going on, where all the heroes died and so forth. And Deceased Dead Planet is some of them going back and trying to reclaim the planet. I've read the first couple of issues, and I think maybe I'm going to finish it off right now. The variant is Mary Marvel. Cute, right? Nice cover. So there it is. That's my kind of larger box from Midtown Comics. I get them once a month. One interesting thing about that is that they also give you 15% off, which helps to kind of offset the mailing on this. And if you order over $75 worth of stuff, they mail for free. So I've hit that a couple of times when there was a lot that I needed to get, but normally I don't get up that high. So that's the video. If you enjoyed it, you enjoyed looking at the comics or my discussion about my LCSs that I go to, please consider giving me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.